Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. We are from the third group and we are going to explain part 1, Language, Literature and Education. Now, I will introduce my group mates, Nurhidayat, Asriani Astuti, Nurwahidah Supardi, Hasrianti, Siti Khatima, and Cindy Ayudhia. For the first, I'd like to explain literary language and ordinary language. Literary language is the language primarily used in the literature and mostly found in novels, poems, and etc. In addition, according to Carter, as you can see. Okay, the next is ordinary language. The general language that students use every day, like formal and informal language. Now, the language of literature, formalist approaches. Formalist may be defined as the critical approaches where the text focus on structure of words. And the next is oracy, the ability to express the students fluently and grammatical in speech. And the last is literacy and literature. According to Williams, as you can see, so it is written by letters in a book and developing by students' ideas in literacy.
Awareness and creativity in everyday language use, formality and creativity is a special protection of literary text and is a classic view of literary creation as the center of every idea. Metaphors is a linguistic phenomenon that is widely studied in research, especially significant and problematic problems which show that literal and referentiality are the norms of linguistic thinking and writing. Narrative are the center of a human life and achievement of story that we tell throughout our lives to justify ourselves and others. Dialogue is literature and discourse. The formalist is to note the emergence of pervasive centrality, figurative, and creative use literature in the use of non-controversial literary language as well as the complexity of the relationship between an oral and writing.
I will explain Part 2.1 the literal curriculum, the origin and evaluation, and Part 2.2 literal in second English teaching. The first is the literal curriculum, the origin and evaluation. There are two parts. The first is the UK context is literal from its institution as a subject of study in the modern era was seen by the governors and missionary. And the second is English colonial as project. The study of English in England began in a quite humble and informal way, and more than 100,000 years passed before it was recognized as a branch of scholarship. Part 2.2 Literal in second English teaching. There are 3 points. The first is traditional approaches, typical found in foreign language and higher academic context. The second is communicative language approach, typical derived from or prompted by the communicative language teaching approaches, and the last is the productive consonant of culture and theory as readers different responses by the text by readers, background, and nationality.
I will explain about the session literary reading and literature in cultural study. Session literary reading another way to approach what is studied under the name of literature in further education system is to attend to a segment which always influence classroom practice as well as attention at least outcome in little clear takes short times for the reason to analyze. Literature in cultural studies, language and culture has always been shared and interacted in various ways to develop, communicate, and perpetuate their knowledge about attitudes.
Reading literature. Literature is broadly defined as written work, especially those considered to have superior of lasting artistic merit. This is the material that is the most cases available for reading to students of literature and any fans of literary work. There are innumerable reasons why I should strive to read literature, and some of the reasons are provision of pleasure, a building of experience, information, provision of talk, and entertainment.
Educational research. Educational research on literature reading then has tended mainly to investigate literature for its potential for moral, personal, and social growth. What is the meaning of moral, personal, and social growth? Reader response research in education has implicit effective factors and tends to be qualitative and observational rather than experimentalist in orientation. The next is second language reading and second language reading of literature. In this section, we note a precise distinction between more cognitive studies and more educationally oriented research. The main important way the conclusion to draw from surveys to that must be that second language reading doesn't differ greatly in participle. Second language reading can be modeled in much the same way as first language reading. Okay, the last is extensive reading. The perspective has been that literature comes into being as an interaction between texts with certain linguistic tendencies and readers with certain expectation and interests, including reading for curiosity.
Nurhidayat explains literary language and ordinary language. Asriani Astuti explains literariness and creativity. Nurwahidah explains literature and education. Hasrianti explains assessing literary reading. Siti Khatima explains reading literature. Cindy Ayudhia explains educational research. Okay, that's all. Thank you very much. Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh.